Hi, and welcome. Today we have with us Peter McLean and James Worrad. We're doing a Grimdark Spectacular. Welcome, gents.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, nice to speak to you again.
Nice to speak to you. I've interviewed you both separately, but we've never all been together. And I love interviewing authors because I like kind of digging into how other people do it. Your writing style is not going to be as much like, we're not going to talk process so much today. We're talking about, you know, stabby, mean, dark stuff, and grimdark. Let's get into it. So
That's what we're all about. Can I just say as well,
Absolutely.
there's Bristol cons going on at the moment. There's a
right.
convention in England, and I'm looking at all my socials and getting what the kids call it FOMO, seeing them all having fun. And so
Oh,
this is nice. This is like
oh,
a mini convention.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly that.
who needs them?
All right.
Yeah.
I have tea. I don't know what y'all are drinking, but it's fine. So I really wanted to reach out to you both because I love your writing, and I've talked to you before separately about your process, and I just enjoyed talking to you both so much and love chatting with you on social media. And I know that my viewers are going to love anything you have to say. That either of you could read a phone book or whatever they read these days, and people would eat it up. So I love the fact that you both write what is just generally called grimdark, and we'll talk about what that means. But I mean, I think of it as like a darker subgenre of fantasy and speculative fiction. You think it's science fiction having like that dystopian cyberpunk sort of future stuff, and fantasy has grimdark, like grim dark reality, and I think that first we heard the term was like Warhammer, right? Grim and
Uh-huh.
dark future,
Yeah.
distant
Did they
futures.
coin it? Was it there?
They did. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the intro to all their books. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and everyone's got a headache and a sore throat and all the rest of it, and it's miserable. Yeah, no, that is where it came from, and that's where the genre's basically parted company. But they did coin the term. Yeah,
Yes, everybody's got a 1,000 yard stare and a bloody sword, so
that's the one. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
In an era of intergalactic battle cruisers, people still fight with swords because reasons or something. I don't know. I mean,
because it's
I
you
love
don't go into Warhammer expecting it to make sense. Do you know what I mean?
I love the
exactly.
models of the tanks when you got the officers with a sword in the tank, got a half out to get out the porthole. Or
Yeah,
was it,
yeah, yeah. I'll
what are you
say that
trying to
one.
get over there?
Drive me closer. I want to hit it with my swords.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I love it, Stu, because like it's like, who cares, right? It's just fun. And
It's always great. I used to
super
write for
nerdy.
them for a little while. I did about half a dozen short stories for Warhammer. It
Really?
was, yeah, a few years. I don't do it anymore, but a few years ago, it was great fun. It really was.
Cool. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Did
and
they
I was
give you a big?
barking mad, but it was great fun.
Did they give you like a big Bible of all their info, or
Yeah,
do you?
oh God, yeah, they sent me, well, PDF copies, but all the codexes and source books, they must have sent me hundreds of pounds worth of books and expected me to have memorized it all in a fortnight and have written the story by then. I mean, if you've never written IP fiction, the deadlines are brutal.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, it pays well, but God, you've got to be able to churn it out quick. You really,
Right.
really have. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to hold up because I have them both with me. Priest of Bones and Penny
Hmm.
Blade, two now classic books in the grimdark genre, and Peter McLean and J.L. Worrad. We're going to dig into like kind of where you were coming from with these books. And first of all, I'm going to ask you each separately about them. So because it, in your case, Pete, it introduces a series, War for the Rose Throne. Am I getting that right? So, and then,
Yeah.
but Penny Blade, is Penny Blade standalone, or do you plan on making a series?
Yeah, it's pretty much standalone. The one that's come out recently, The Keep Within, is
Within,
same world, but 300 years later when they're wearing ruffs
got
and cod pieces, whereas that's more sort of 12th, 13th century sort of thing.
yeah,
So you can read either.
great. So, all right, Pete, let's start with you. Tell me about Priest of Bones. What is
Well, I tell you what about Priest of Bones. It's about war trauma ultimately. I mean, I have two favorite genres. I have the fantasy genre and the gangster genre. I grew up on the Godfather and Goodfellas and all this kind of stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I just wanted to ram the two together, and that's basically what you've got. But it's about what, because one of my biggest bugbears with fantasy in general, I mean, I'm not talking specifics, but in general across the genre, and I'm excluding Tolkien from this because he got it. He was a World War One veteran. He knew what war does to people. But at some point between probably the 70s and the 90s, the genre just forgot that, and the heroes would go off and fight epic battles and slaughter thousands of orcs or trollocs or whatever, and so I'll never be able to take the name Trollocs seriously, but there we are. And then they come home and go back to life on the farm and be perfectly all right. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. War fucks people up. And that's what I really wanted to show. You know what I mean? I did a lot of research, spoke to a lot of actual combat veterans, which I'm not, I must admit. But one of the most flattering messages I ever had on social media was an American Army veteran asking me where I'd served, because obviously I must have done, and I haven't. And I just thought, oh, I got it right then, didn't I? Do you know what I mean? That made my month. It really, really did. But yeah, that's what I was going with, and couple that with the archetypical gangster arc of he's been away to war, he's lost his empire, he comes home, reclaims his empire, and then how do gangster stories end? There are only three ways, aren't there? He turns snitch, he gets killed, or he goes into politics. My guy went into politics and into the espionage business, and the rest is history, kind of thing.
Right.
But now, mashing my two favorite genres and all my favorite tropes together was just, this is exactly what I wanted to do. Really enjoyed writing it, and
Well, you can tell.
thankfully, a lot of people seem to have enjoyed reading it. So
Right.
that's what I set out to achieve, and I'm pleased with the result.
Yeah, it was a blast, and so now I've got to read the rest of the series, which I know you're just gonna. That's terrible, right? Just horrible. And so I want to read more of both of your work, but I want to dig into, okay, you talked about gangsters and things like that, and some people have described the series as Peaky Blinders with swords, and do you agree about that?
Well, when I sold it, I got my agent to pitch it to Penguin as The Godfather with swords.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, there are parallels with both. I mean, in The Godfather, Michael Corleone's just come home from war. Peaky
Right.
Blinders did not invent this.
Right.
But I guess the brothers and the aunt, yeah, there's parallels. And I mean, Peaky Blinders is a show I enjoyed, but I was leaning harder on The Godfather for
Oh
inspiration
yeah.
when I wrote it. But I can see where people have got that from, definitely. Yeah. But that's every gangster story, that it is an archetypical character arc of the gangster's journey. I think you could probably draw Jimmy Cagney movies like White Heat into the comparison. It's just what the genre is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see The Godfather in them. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah,
Certainly the arc as well, with the films and the
absolutely.
books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more what I was going for. But I can see people how people have taken Peaky Blinders away from it, and I think, well, that's fine because that's a bloody brilliant show.
Yeah.
Right.
Stephen Knight's an excellent writer. I'll watch pretty much anything he's scripted, so I don't have a problem with that.
So I like, we'll talk a little bit more about characters, like I'll go back and forth between you two, but I like the whole anti-hero theme, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I really think, though, it's compelling, and it seems like this is it's an alternate sort of England Scotland situation, right? In a lot of ways, to me, that's what I felt. So correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like another universe, almost dark mirror kind of thing.
I more did alternate times. So, I mean, I'm a big social history wonk. I really am. I mean, right at the moment, I'm rereading for about because I'm writing another book in the same world.
Oh, excellent.
So,
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
I'm a standalone in the world of the Rose Throne, but with different characters in a different
Right.
city. So I'm rereading one of my favourite social history books, which is Liza Picard's Elizabeth's London. said about the Elizabethan period, but it's not about the Queen. It's about the lives of normal people, guildsmen and carpenters and crafters, and the kind of people I write about, and it's fascinating. Right. I love that kind of thing.
Sounds
so
good.
I wanted the world to be largely Tudor. So, like on the battlefield, you've got cannon and all the horror of gunpowder and massive noises and everything, but you don't have muskets. So you've still got armor. People are still fighting with swords and spears, like they were about 1520. You had that juxtaposition of the two, the crossover from the early modern period to the mechanized era. And that's how I've set Ellenberg, and it's a very, very Tudor city.
Gotcha.
But then we moved to Dansburg in book 2, where all the money is, and it's rich and posh. And I mean, I know what a royal Tudor banquet looked like, but it's not going to resonate with anybody who doesn't, because it's so different from what we think of. So because and this is why I don't write historical fiction, because it's an awful lot of work.
Yeah.
I've always said the definition of grimdark is it's historical fiction, but you'd quite like a wizard to have been there. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's perfect.
I write. Now I can't take credit for that. My good friend R.J. Barker came up with that one.
I love
but
him. I interviewed him.
Yeah, he's great, and he's absolutely right with this. So in Dansburg, at a posh people's dinner party, it's the Regency period, because fuck it, I'm writing fantasy. Do you know what I mean? I'm not beholden to history. And, a Regency dinner party isn't very different to a posh Victorian one, whereas a Tudor one is completely bloody incomprehensible. So I thought, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's my world. I can do this.
True. Probably right.
Yeah. So, it's more that it's more a time contrast than it is a regional contrast. I mean, Ellenberg, I had more as being early industrial era Liverpool or somewhere, and Dansburg's obviously Georgian London.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Although geographically, Ellenberg is Edinburgh. If you ever next time you're over in the UK, if you ever get the chance to go to Edinburgh, you will see Ellenberg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been there. It's fantastic.
It's my wife's hometown. It's absolutely beautiful city.
Yeah.
So much history and compressed into such a small space. Wonderful.
Exactly.
And if it was in a computer game, it would win an award, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah. Definitely.
So, all right, James, you have a main character who. Well, first of all, tell me about your book, and then we're going to talk about the main character because she fascinates me. So, tell me about your book.
Well, it's about again it's there you go, PENNYBLADE, lovely cover.
Beautiful.
They did a great job. Basically it's about pain, but it's more I think it's the pain of lost love. So which I think a lot of us can dig. And she's had a bad experience like that. She was an aristocrat on this sort of island of, I won't say elves, but kind of elves. And and she's left there, and she's become a mercenary amongst the humans with her flashy moves. And it's about running away from your past, and how you can never really run away from your past. And also there's a lot of dick jokes and stuff. So I like to wrap up.
Mate, you can never have too many dick jokes, can you?
It's a British thing. If you're going to have like deep emotions, wrap it up in some crudity.
Absolutely.
So it's a character study. That's, I don't know. That's, yeah.
I like her a lot. She's very feisty, and you wouldn't want to mess with her, but also she's got this sharp sort of wit, this dark wit that I love.
Yes.
She's just such a unique character. Now, how do you pronounce her species so that I get it right?
I don't want to ruin it for anyone. You can, whatever you've read and you have, that's cool. I say Comrack. But I've heard people say Comrach, and other people say, a Scottish friend of mine, she says Comrash. Maybe that's a bit sexy. So either way, it looks good on the page, and it sounds sexy in any way you do it, really, any way you say it. So yeah. And so
have you got an audio book?
Oh God, yeah, have I got an audio book?
Yeah.
It's the best version
I had
of
this. I got to audition some of the readers, and I picked the perfect guy. And then he sent me an email. Can you put on a voice note how you say this, that, the other? And I'm thinking, oh, no fucking idea. It just looks good written down.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I was asked to do the same for the book coming out next week, and it's my audiobook, and I was like, ooh, I better make sure I'm getting this one consistent, because there was one character that in my head I pronounced it a certain way with a Latin pronunciation, because it was Latin. And then, but I thought, God, most people maybe aren't going to pronounce it Latin, but I'm still sticking with it, right? So, but if somebody's reading it on the page and they think something else, I don't have a problem with that,
Yeah, exactly that.
Right.
I take great delight in the fact that, say I've got like big towered city in one, on their island. I like the idea. I've always liked this. That I'll never see all the different versions of that city. I like sort of relinquishing power and to the reader or whatever, and it'll be their version. I just, I'm just doing sort of imprint, if you like, a print, and they get to they make their own picture or whatever of it. That's part of the beauty of writing. Otherwise, I'd be a photographer.
There's that. So you both basically have anti-heroes, basically. Like, they're not these clean-cut people who you would have be classical heroes. And so what's the appeal, Pete? What do you like digging into, like an anti-hero, like a Michael Corleone?
Oh, it's reality. I have never in my 51 years on this earth met a squeaky clean paladin type. I don't think they exist. I really don't. I think most people have flaws and traumas. I mean, my character's what is he, in his late 30s, and he's a veteran of an XP for World War One. So the guy's fucked up. You know what I mean? They all are, and I don't think anybody that's been through that can be absolutely cut and dried, black and white. I mean, he's got a moral code. He's got lines he won't cross, if precious few of them, in all honesty. But they are there. He doesn't like hurting women unless they're trying to kill him. He will not hurt a child, but he will bomb half the city if it's what he needs to do to achieve his objectives. And I think, this is... I don't know that I'm qualified to say it, but it's almost the military virtue. If something is a military target, it's fair game. If it isn't, you do your very best to minimize the collateral damage. Would be his line in the sand kind of thing. And I just think, well, I mean, going back to RJ's quote, it's historical fiction, but with a wizard there. There is nothing a Grimdark writer can make up that is worse than anything that's actually happened in history.
God.
Very true.
And I think we've got a duty to reflect that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of there's a torture scene in Priest of Gallows that had people sending me horror notes about, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, dude, research the Spanish Inquisition. I am not the first person to think of this, trust me. The only difference is I've never actually done it to anybody, and they did. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing you can think of that's so inhumane somebody in the past hasn't already done it to someone else. And that's kind of what I'm going for, you know what I mean? It's a bit gloves off, some of it, but it's how the world was, Well,
and then too, I feel like, where the stakes are that way, because you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's part of the fun of reading these books. It's like,
oh, exactly. I know you haven't read them all yet, but trust me, no one's safe.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say to that.
So,
I mean, obviously, when you read a first-person narrative book, you know the narrator isn't going to die, because that's how first-person works. But there are worse things you can do to a character than kill them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing a person disintegrate over time is hard in real
life.
Oh,
exactly that. Yeah.
So,
and I'm a great believer in reflecting that actions have consequences. I mean, if you are a powerful person in a reasonably low-tech, low-law world, you can by and large do what you like, but don't expect it not to have consequences, because it will.
Right. Exactly.
I'll leave that one there till you've read the rest of the books. Then we can maybe have another call.
That's right. All right, James. So tell me, in this case, you have a character who is not very clean cut herself, and what's the fascination there? what are you getting out of that?
I don't know really. I think when they do something good, it has more power. As a writer, when I'm writing it, if like I don't know, Frodo does something good, it's like, oh, Gollum does something good. It hits you. You go, oh, I always try it. And it's that trying. And often they get it wrong, and Kyra gets it wrong all the time. And I also really liked about her is as I was doing it, she does good actions, but she doesn't comment on them, which is kind of weird. I don't know where that sort of came from, but I was kind of interested by that. It's like she doesn't want to face up to doing good stuff, but she will sort of talk about the bad stuff she's done. And so I enjoyed that. I'm very much a character writer. I love getting into a character and doing that and exploring that. And yeah, I think she's awful. She's an awful person, but she doesn't like bullies. And that she always kicks off there, even though she's a bit of a bully herself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an and certainly a great character for me to write first person.
Yeah.
You want a bit of an oddball as a first person, or someone who's different to you, or the morality is a bit different. Because I think when you read a first person book, you're not really in the character as the reader like you are with the third person. I think with first person, it's like you're stuck at the bus stop with someone and they're talking to you, and it's like, bloody hell, what are they all about? So it's good if they're a little bit either cranky or morally dodgy or whatever, Yeah, and of course, unlike a bus stop, you're not waiting for the bus to turn up to get out of there. You can put the book down. So yeah.
I mean, mine. I know what you mean. Mine are first person as well. I wrote them as Thomas's memoirs that he's written long after the facts in his old age, and he's recounting what happened. But he's not what you'd call the world's most reliable narrator.
Yeah.
And you think, you know what I mean? I mean, sometimes you think, that really how that happened, Thomas? Really? Is it?
Yeah.
There's always that slight little bit of uncertainty.
A little bit of smudge on the ink.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
All first person narratives are unreliable narrators.
Yeah. Oh, they should be. I think so. I think they should be. Yeah. Definitely.
It's interesting to me because I'm always third person. I'm sort of the omnipotent recounter of this situation. I'm the historian, I suppose, and so I love reading first person, and it challenges my approach to books, and I find them more exciting and slightly more unstable because especially in this case for Grimdark, it's like this is shaky footing I'm already on because I don't trust the person. And there's some wild stuff happening. And so it's a fun bit of chaos to have as a reader for both of them. That's just being like, oh God, I don't know. This could go either way. But there's going to be blood, either way.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like, but still you both mentioned something that I wanted to talk about, how each of these characters, you're getting their point of view, but it's also apparent that they have each of them a code that lines they don't cross, a code of honor. Pete, what would you say is it Tomas or Thomas?
Oh, it depends which narrator you listen to. It could be either. It could be either. I mean, it's Tomas written down, so technically it's Tomas, but I think at least one of my narrators just reads it as Thomas, and I'm fine with that. All
right. Matter. So in his case, what's his code?
Like I say, he is very much built around military leadership, as I am. I'm not military myself, but I've been corporate my entire life. And the director I learned leadership from was very senior in intelligence within the military, which is probably all I can say about that. So he taught me leadership on very, very military lines. And Thomas learned leadership the same way from his captain, who is unashamedly my old boss. It just is. The captain is my old boss, who I won't name in open court, but he knows who he is. So it's that kind of thing. And like I say, he won't hurt children.
Right.
He'll only hurt a woman if she's armed and trying to kill him, which is part of the function of his sidekick, Bloody Anne, who is a woman and has no such compunctions whatsoever. No, absolutely none. So, whenever a woman is involved, either Billy or Anne will take care of her because Thomas just can't quite bring himself to do it.
Yeah.
So Thomas's mother died when he was almost too young to remember her, and he's throughout the books he's forever saying, "Look at me, Ma, I'm this, that, whatever he happens to be doing at the time." You know, he's mythologized this vision of a mother he never knew, and
Yeah.
he's always trying to live up to what he thinks are her expectations, even though he doesn't actually know anything about her. And it's part of his personal tragedy that he'll never be the son he thinks his mother wanted because he doesn't know what that is. And yeah, there's a lot of Jimmy Cagney in that. I'll tell you. Oh yeah, look at me, Ma, top of the world, all that. I've been riffing on that for it was not till the fourth book that most people twigged, to be honest. But yeah, no, I've been riffing on that for a long time. I just think that's fascinating. But yeah, I mean he's a gangster. Gangsters are by definition horrible people. You know what I mean? He is basically a horrible man, but you can't help but root for him because he is, like all psychopaths, an expert in. Well, no, he's more of a sociopath than a psychopath. Bloody Anne's the psychopath.
Yeah.
Thomas is an expert in justifying things to himself and therefore to the reader because you're reading his narrative, his version of events. Right. Every time he goes a little bit further, does something a little bit more awful, the reader thinks, "Oh, yeah, but that's because," and you think,
justification.
No, it's because he's a fucking whack job. But you know what I mean? I think you've got to have a character with a code. I mean, unless you're going all in full Grimdark, which I mean, I don't regard my books as being all in full Grimdark because there is hope, there is love that survives. I've got at least two characters who do get a happy ending. They might not be who you expect them to be, and I won't spoil it for you, but I mean, if you look at something like, I mean, my friend Mark Lawrence, who's a fantastic writer, his debut Prince of Thorns, which is a phenomenal book, his protagonist, Jorg Ankrath, is just a psychotic piece of shit. There is no way round it. And yet people still like him, do you know? Because Mark writes him so well. And again, it's first person and he just gets away with it. But, you know, I think they're quite polarizing. I know some people that loathe those books, and the majority of us think they're absolutely awesome. You know?
Yeah, we don't hold back. There's something to be power in that, right?
Yeah. Oh, he pushed it. All right. Yeah.
Got to read it then.
Yeah, no, it's well worth a read. Yeah, the Broken Empire trilogy, they are well worth a read.
All right.
And Mark's a great guy. You're trying to get him on. He's a really good guy.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So James, tell me, what kind of code is it? Kyra?
Kyra, she has a code. She just doesn't know what it is.
A moving goalpost.
Oh, tremendous.
I mean, she would technically kill a human child. They'd say to her, like, kill this kid, and she'd always got money, and then she'd go along and then look at them playing at the back of the head and be like, what the hell are you doing? And then she'd come up with an excuse not to do it and then kill the people who paid her or something. But it would never fully be, she's an aristocrat. So, like gangsters, awful people, generally speaking.
Your character's not actually human, is she?
Not yet. Rightly. So
that's what I thought.
You can make the excuse of like, well, do psychological things apply like humans or whatever? She's a bit. My elves are a little bit feline-y in a way.
Okay.
But it's still a human in the reading sense. So she's always trying to find what her moral line is a lot of the time. She does some really bad things, but then usually stops when it just goes a little bit. So that's caused critically. You go, look at the reviews. Some people really hate it. I know that's understandable, but then other people really love it, and I think it is that sort of exploration of how far to go with things or whatever. But deep down, I think it's the most moral book I've ever written. Sorry, have I gone off the subject a bit here? What was the question again?
Oh, I was just asking what her code was, and it sounds like
there you go. I'm trying to reach for it. A code is like one of a friend's or a code, really. They sort of stop.
That's a really good point, because I could see that. Yeah. You know, you're like, you know, I'm horrible, but I have friends who are not horrible, who are getting it done. And
yeah. I mean,
let me in with them, sort of, but
yeah.
But they're I like that.
I think that found family thing is really popular, isn't it? I mean, I went in with that. I mean, Thomas has got no parents, and his brother's mental, and he's back from war with his old comrades from the battlefield, and they basically become a found family. And I think people like that. It plays quite well, you know. So
we all love that. Yeah. I think that's a myth of the 20th and 21st century, isn't it? One we can all, you know, given that we all move around and have different jobs, we're not all clannish like a few hundred years ago. I think the found family has a profound power over us that perhaps didn't have centuries back. I don't know. I don't think there's a found family Shakespeare tale. I could be wrong on that. Please let us know.
I can't think of one, to be honest. No, I think you're probably right. That is a modern thing. I mean, blood families a lot less close-knit than it used to be before. As you say, we had mobility and people moved hundreds of miles away for work and didn't see their blood family that often. But you know, your mates, your close people, your colleagues, maybe, whatever it might be, kind of fills that void, I think, to an extent for a lot of people.
Yeah, we need that, and I think we like stories that do that, I guess. From Scooby onwards. But and I was say, the Kyra, she's been raised to think she's the greatest thing ever. They've got a whole thing about the aristocrats in that thing. The elves there are trying to make the perfect elf, so that the aristocrats, the elves have been the Comrax. Sorry, I've got to stop saying elves. Being sort of pushed towards that ultimate thing. It's a ridiculous semi-fascistic idea, and she's been raised in that, and that's what she's escaping, and she hates it, but she's still got that in her head. She thinks she's like the best thing ever, and everybody else is, you know, below her. And so she really does need a found family, a very patient found family. So, you know,
those who check those with the ego are very interesting to me. You know, I felt like Bloody Ann did that for Thomas.
I wrote Bloody Ann to be Thomas's conscience, because Lady knows he doesn't have one, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that comes out more and more. I mean, I don't know how far through the series you've got. Okay. As it progresses, she gets more and more hacked off with the choices he's made and the direction his life's going in, and she starts calling him on it more often. And it comes to a head, shall we say?
Good.
I love the paradox of that, though, because she's so in the moment. She can be a lot more. She's Bloody Ann. She can be a lot more.
She's an absolute psychopath, but she has got a much stricter set of morals than Thomas has. Yeah, she's got no compunction about killing somebody, but her reasons why that's justified are a lot narrower than Thomas's are. An awful lot.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, she's my favourite character. I think she's the van choice favourite character, to be honest. She's certainly my favourite character in it. I wrote a spin. I don't think many people have read it, but I wrote a spin-off Bloody Ann short story in Grimdark magazine.
Awesome.
I can't remember. I can never remember which edition it is. Adrian will kill me because he's told me about 8 times and I can't remember. But it's that was a lot of fun to write. A story about Anne and Rosie set during Priest of Lies when Thomas is out of the city in Dansburg, and it's about how Anne ran the pious men in his name while he wasn't there. And you don't mess with Bloody Anne. That was a lot of fun to do.
Cool. I love that. So like, I got to dig we've talked a lot about your books and about some other books out there, but I do want to know for each of you, James, we'll start with you on this one. You know, what, getting to the point of writing these books, like you're drawing upon a lifetime of experience, kind of what we talked about, Pete, from your work and just writing and our love of writing. We love to write. But I wondered too if there were just sort of any sort of beacons out there that you were like, those works profoundly imprinted on me and led me to this point of writing Grimdark, in film or book or TV or any media. What, James, what would you say are some of those beacons?
First off, I want to say, I don't know if this is true. I've got this theory about British Grimdark, is that all the people writing Grimdark in Britain grew up watching Blackadder.
Yes.
If that is a fact. Especially theory one, that was very brutal. And then two.
Two. Oh, Blackadder 2 for me is definitely, definitely the best of the lot.
Really good theory.
Yeah, because if you look at a generation, like a few years before, we had the British sci-fi or space opera thing, Ian Banks and Alistair Reynolds, and they all grew up watching maybe Blake Seven. So I think maybe we all have a thing on like the BB. Back then, there was no lots of TV; it was just the Auntie Beeb, and you'd have that one thing. I don't know. I just feel that Blackadder doesn't get the what you call it deserves.
I riff on Blackadder quite a lot, man. I love it. But it's funny you mentioned Blake Seven. I mean, that had the most brutal, grimdark ending of anything ever. Just about, it's phenomenal. I mean, for anybody that's never seen it, if you're young or American or whatever, yes, it looks shit. It was made in the 70s on a budget of £2.50 an episode, but the writing is phenomenal. It is so well scripted, and if you can get past how it looks, that is magnificent sci-fi storytelling. It really is.
It's a testament.
It does look bloody awful. There's no getting around that.
Yeah. It's like an Amdram stage play.
It is, yeah. Well, that's basically what it was, isn't it? But so well written. Amazing.
You can tell the episodes where they're running out of money, where they get old ships that had before they put it all together.
Spaceships made out of cardboard bog roll kind of thing.
They work wonders, those boys and girls in the effects department. But so I just say testament to that. But really, I think I mentioned the last time I was a science fiction writer. And then I went, I was going to write an RPG game for a friend, but then it sort of turned into a rough draft for a book. And so I ended up thinking, I ended up doing PENNYBLADE kind of for a laugh. I wasn't going to send it out anywhere. But I would like to say, and this is going to be absolutely cringe in your seat stuff, a major thing that really propelled me was reading Priest, the first book.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
I'm sorry. I've got to
my fucking say, man. That's great.
But it's just because it was far. It was. I read a fair bit of Grimdark, but then this was like it's just like a little bit more street, and maybe a little bit.
That's it.
I felt like I could do something like that. Not as good at whatever, but I can muck around in his field a little bit, Perhaps not, So I'd say those books are big thing. Sorry to weird the mood there, but
no, I say that's made my fucking week. That's brilliant, man. Glad you took something away from it. That's what we all want,
Right. Well, that's it. You read stuff, you pass it on, mate.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah.
That and just with Nail and I, of course, I love that film.
Oh, that's a classic.
Which one? Yeah. What was it?
With Nail and I. You ever seen it?
Oh, it's an old movie. Richard E. Grant from is it like 70s, early 80s, something like that.
83, 86, something like that. Yeah.
It's about these two incredibly dissolute students and their incredible misadventure and fall into despair and disgrace, but it's hilarious. It's one of the most quotable British comedies ever written.
I need to watch this.
It's a great character.
Yeah, it's got what's the name of the guy that played Uncle Monty?
The
big fat fella.
What he was in?
Whatever's
Harry Potter as his uncle.
He was Uncle Dursley in Harry Potter. Yeah, same actor. I can't for the life of me think what his name is, but
for me, it's always Uncle Monty. That's just
absolutely.
It's funny. It's sad,
even if it must be burglary, dear boy.
Okay, so this is going on my watch.
Sorry, Jendia. It's a British thing. You seriously had to be there.
I'm watching it tonight.
I cannot bear to touch raw meat. As a weak in butcher shops. Yeah, it's just sorry.
Get the jokes now.
We digress quite severely, but yes.
We have to get together for a pub night.
We do. We really do. Next time you're in the UK, we have to make that happen. Definitely.
We're not right there. I am drinking tea though, let the record show, but still.
I've only got one. I've got a little glass of the little thingy of wine. I haven't been like on the sauce all day or anything. I wouldn't want you to.
I was good, and I've got coffee. Seriously, if I know we were drinking,
cigarettes as well, though. I've got my Holy Trinity. I've got the coffee for the blast, the wine for the loosening, and then the water for the.
All covered. It's all covered.
I won't show you the cocaine.
You're all set.
Awesome. Well, Pete, what do you think? Like we've talked about with Nail and I, which I have to watch now.
You do.
And Blackadder, which I have seen and I loved. I came to that late, probably, I guess it's been probably about 15 years ago was the first time I ever saw it. I just died the whole time, screeching with laughter. It just skewers everybody. So
it's wonderful, isn't it?
It really is. But so what were some of the guideposts for you? And
right, well, I don't do a lot of TV, I must admit. Mine are all books I read when I was young. I did a thing on social about this not that long ago, actually. So I have got 4 really prime influence writers. 2 you'd expect and 2 you probably wouldn't. So Tanith Lee, who wrote everything, and everything she wrote is beautiful.
Golden. Yeah.
There's no way around it. Absolutely beautiful. And one of my great professional regrets is that I never got to meet her before she passed. But I am honoured to say I'm friends with her husband today, John Kane, who I met at Manchester EasterCon. He's an absolutely lovely, lovely guy. Really, really interesting chap. Whatever she wrote fantasy, sci-fi, horror, YA, thrillers, everything. But she taught me that prose can be beautiful without being poetry. And I'll never write like Tanith Lee, but I try and take bits from her.
I'll have to read her work. I love her.
She is fantastic. I mean, a lot of them are probably sadly out of print now. They're quite old. She's been writing since the early 70s, but cool. If you can find it, her Flat Earth Cycle.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, starting with Death's Master, which is mythological fantasy, is just a work of art. It's phenomenal.
Great.
And then obviously there's David Gemmell, who taught me that heroic fantasy was a thing, and that heroes may die, but they might still win. And you can't talk. Gemmell is the goat of heroic fantasy. There's no way around that. You know what I mean? So there's that. But then there's Sven Hazel, who I grew up reading. Now, I don't know if he was ever a thing in the States. He's a Danish writer.
Maybe not.
And he wrote fictionalized accounts of his time in World War II.
Oh, cool.
As a Danish conscript fighting for the German army.
Whoa.
And they get more far-fetched as they go on, and he ran out of real stories and started making shit up. And people came back to life that he'd forgot he'd killed in earlier books and this kind of thing. But yeah, the first few of them are fantastic. I mean, he's never acknowledged as one of the progenitors of Grimdark. That always goes to like Glenn Cook and whatnot. But I maintain Sven Hazel was certainly my first encounter with Grimdark, but long before anybody had coined the terms. These things were written in the 60s and 70s.
Okay. How do you spell Hazel?
HASSELL, I think.
Sven?
Okay.
Start with Wheels of Terror. That was the first one.
Okay. Wheels of Terror?
I think they're all still up on Kindle. These were conscripts dragged into the German army against their will.
Wow.
Criminals, most of them, stuffed into a penal tank legion that were the epitome of cannon fodder. And it is the most brutal, soul-destroying, bloodthirsty horror show you've ever read.
Sounds like it.
And so he taught me about the soldierly life and how, because I mean, I mean, I'm old, you know. I grew up on like John Wayne's Green Berets and the A-Team and Warriors Yay, Gung Ho shit.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? And Sven Hassel was the first thing I encountered that ever told me, actually, dude, yeah, no, it's fucking hell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
They are so. I mean, they are very dated now, obviously, but they're so good.
Cool.
And the other is Mickey Spillane.
Oh,
I read a lot of Mickey Spillane when I was I probably shouldn't have been, but it was the 80s and no one was looking. Do you know what I mean?
No, we've all been there, the three of us.
Yeah. Mickey Spillane taught me about pacing, about thriller writing, noir voice, City as character. I mean, Mike Hammer's City is as much of a character in the books as Mike Hammer is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Either jury and that kind of thing. It's about as far as FFF as you can get, but there's so much carryover in terms of technical writing and, like I say, in the pacing and the description of setting and voice and all that kind of thing.
Cool.
Loved his stuff.
Great.
Really did. I can't imagine they've aged well either, but at the time, I took a lot away from them. I really did.
Certainly, the noir hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Noir hero. Yeah.
I mean, Hammer wasn't exactly what you'd call a nice guy, was he? You know what I mean?
But, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Again, you root for him all the same.
Yeah, I think there's a saying. It's not Spillane. It was one of the noir writers. I can't remember. He described the hero in a noir as being good enough for his world. No, bad enough for his world, good enough for any world. Which is, I thought, an interesting way of that. Yeah,
that's good.
That's bad shit, but they're good, and their morality is. I can't remember which one said that. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, it's
I don't know.
I like that. Send me that quote if you don't mind later, because I really don't want to chew on that one a little bit.
Yeah, sure, we'll do. Yeah. Was it bad enough for their world, good enough for any world? I think it was.
Probably Chandler. It sounds like a Chandler kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Someone like that, I would have thought.
Yeah. I can't go, well, there you go. The big sleep.
Yeah, because that's something I'm writing is got the flavor of that sort of universe, and I'm hoping my
is that a fantasy or a sci-fi or a?
So I do sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and Appalachian stories. So but the book that just went out on submission is a thriller with sci-fi and horror in it. And some academia stuff, because I used to do research in academia in biological sciences. So I there's a whole lot of mess in that whole thing. And so a little bit of, I'm stretching out, this sort of balloon and blowing it out for the genres are spreading. So I'm coming for all of them. Look out.
Oh, no, yeah. Watch yourself.
I took longsword lessons because I wrote a dragon fantasy that was on submission for much of this year, and it just got shelved. Hopefully somebody grabs it one day, but I took longsword lessons because I was like, I want to know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, so it's one of those things. And this is LA, where everybody's taking weird lessons all the time for either movies or fun. So like you can just be like, okay, well, there's a longsword lesson over there, and so we're in a very nerdy city. And speaking of nerdy, I have we'll start wrapping this up, but I just really want to know this. Okay, so Pete, if you could choose one or two of the savage weapons or abilities in your universes, which would they be? Just in case you needed them in the real world.
Oh, damn, mate. Well, the abilities in my universe aren't really what you'd call a blessing. The cunning is
sure.
The cunning is not something you want to be saddled with.
Nope.
I would love to be as good a swordsman as Thomas is, obviously.
Same.
And as clever as Vogel. Yeah.
True.
Dieter Vogel, the spy master, provost marshal of the Queen's Men, is one clever bastard. You know what I mean? He always thinks 8 moves ahead. It's long-term strategy. And I tend to be more of a tactical guy. That, you think a move or two ahead. Tactics win skirmishes, strategy wins battles, logistics wins wars. It is known. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things I admire. But no, the abilities, no, you can keep them. No thanks.
Yeah. What about you, James?
Actually, yeah, quite. The comrade themselves, they've got a sort of a magic that they haven't got like the big fireballs or the mind magic. What they've got is a kind of an art magic where they've got this thing called the imbuing. So like she can like keep sharpening a sword and make it absolutely crazy sharp, and like just through thinking about sharpness and using her fingers.
Awesome.
And then you've got in the palaces, you've got people who can. You've got all these people like just touching up the sculptures and make it so like makes it so almost the sculptures are almost alive when you look at them from the side. So you can make things more arty or sharper. You can give an object and make it's more of itself, if you like, with that power. So I could make this. I could be touching this Mac, my Mac now, making it like a bigger Mac. I don't know, or yeah, like
Charlie Brown at Christmas with the tree, like
yeah. Oh, they have amazing Christmas trees on the aisle, the Comrack aisle. Yeah, so that. I think that's like a skill. That's like a magic. Like it was definitely wish fulfillment with that one.
I like that. I would love to do that.
Yeah, be all right. Be all right. You know.
Well, and I like her rapier too. Okay, it's like, it's like awesome sword. I love the swords, you guys. In case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah.
Fan of your swords.
You know, a tendency.
Can't beat a good sword. Right. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, okay, so like, guys, this has been fantastic, and now I want for readers to be able to learn more about your work, but also what do you have coming next? Let's talk about that. Can you talk about that? You mentioned the story and the same universe, Pete.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can talk about that because it hasn't been formally announced yet, but I haven't signed an NDA or anything, so fuck it. It's a standalone in the world of the Rose Throne. It's provisionally titled Paved with Good Intentions, and it's set shortly after the end of Priest of Crowns. New characters, different city. We're in beautiful scenic Drathberg this time, which you've heard of but never been to. Ooh. So I'm writing it with a view that you don't have to have read the Quartet. It is not a sequel. It's not a follow-on. It's a standalone in the same world, and hopefully if people like it then haven't read the Quartet, they will then go back and buy the backlist. This is the intention. But yeah, female protagonist, limited third person rather than first, which is a big departure for me. All my published novels so far have been first person, but it's weird. I know you did it, Jim, but I don't feel qualified to write a woman in first person, so I've gone with close third Abercrombie style with this. So we will see, but my editor liked the pitch. It's signed, it's contracted, and yeah, all being well, we'll be out around summer of 25, I think, is on the contract.
Congrats.
Wow. Oh, wow. Looking forward to that. That's exciting.
How about you, James?
Me, I've got nothing on contract, but I'm working on something with my agent and I've started writing it. And I just kind of wanted to get away from the medieval Europe thing. So I've gone for a very Bronze Age kind of world, but without bronze. That's the clever bit. But that kind of, like there's like the Minoans and the Mycenaeans.
I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah. I thought no one's really done like a Minoan-y kind of world, and instead of like bulls, I've got triceratops and stuff. So it's a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you read Anna Stevens' new stuff?
What was it? Pardon, sorry?
Have you read Anna Stevens' Stone Knife? That's very Mesoamerican. Oh, they're fantastic. There's 2 of 3 out so far.
Anna Stevens?
Yeah, Stone Knife and the Jaguar Path are out, and there's a 3rd one coming. They're really, really good.
Right, I've heard about them. Yeah, I should give them a go, really.
They're that kind of thing,
Yeah. So, yeah, that kind of thing. Really.
Excellent books. Yeah.
I'll nice one. Check them out.
Okay, well, James, where can our viewers and listeners and readers find you and more about your work?
Well, I'd offer my Twitter thing, but Twitter's gone a bit down the toilet now, isn't it? I don't. It's on there is. You're not even on there anymore.
I got thrown off Twitter. I got banned from Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky now, but yeah, Twitter finally lost patience with my bullshit, and I got kicked off.
You left the party at the right time, mate.
Yeah, I got that impression. Well, I say that I am still on there because Thomas Piety has a Twitter account, which is a bit naughty, I know, but I don't really use it, to be honest.
He's one of my favourite accounts. It's the only place you get the real news now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's actually, let's go with Blue Sky. I'm on at Worrad, at Blue Sky, whatever it is. Worrad. I'm just Worrad there. On it, I've got a blog page. Just put in James Worrad or something. JL Worrad is probably a good
put your
idea.
websites in the little.
Yeah, something like that. You know, I'm about.
You're about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I'm around town.
Pete, you're on Blue Sky and Instagram.
I'm on Blue Sky. Yeah, I'm Pete MC666 at beastguy.social or whatever the default end is.
All right.
I've got a website at talonwraith.com, which is 2 books out of date because I've forgotten how to update the bloody thing. So I need to find somebody I can hire to do that for me. Applicants apply within. WordPress, if anybody knows how to drive WordPress, because I'm sure I don't anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And to be honest, I mainly live on Facebook these days. I've got my own. Yeah. I've got an account under my own name. I've also got a Peter McLean author page that I don't use because Facebook doesn't show anybody pages posts if you don't promote them. So I don't bother with that. But just follow my personal Facebook. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, same here. Facebook's where it's at, actually, isn't it? I think
it's distressingly it is at the moment because everywhere else is worse, which says a lot. But
and I'm kind of behind on Facebook, so I feel like I better jump in because the others are just fluttering around like mayflies right now.
I don't know if Threads is going anywhere. I mean, Twitter's going face first into the shit
the last couple of weeks. There's a lot more readers on there, that's for sure.
Oh, okay, well that's good. Blue Sky's okay, but it's very still in beta. It's very new, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a lot of it's not there yet. Hopefully it gets there because I quite like it, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I know. Okay, well, Priest of Owns, Peter McLean, PENNYBLADE, J.L. Worrad. You guys, these are great books. I'm so happy you were on here today. This has been so much fun. We're totally doing a pub night next time I'm in the UK.
Definitely. Yeah.
Make it happen. We will find the point on the map where we can all meet and we're going to do it.
Oh, we meet in London. That's always the easiest thing. You can get to London from anywhere.
Well, show me the best pub there, and we're gonna have the most epic talk. All right.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Plenty good pubs.
That's good.
Down London way. Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Lovely speaking to you.
All right.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye bye.